I'm out at the park today, and I thought it might be a good time to share with you something that I've struggled with for just about my whole life. It's a mental health issue. It's a condition I have where I'll be trying to say something nice or make somebody feel better or, lighten the mood with some humor. But what ends up happening is I say something really horrible and mean that makes people feel even worse than before. There is a name for it. It's called foot-in-mouth disease. So, I'll give you some examples. When I was young, I used to really like Christmas, like most of us. And every Christmas, my brothers and I would get Christmas cards from our grandparents, usually with $20 inside. Now, at the time, for us, $20 was a huge amount of money. We got maybe $5 a week in allowance, if we got allowance. So $20 was crazy. We loved Christmas. And my dad's mom, my grandma, after Grandpa died, she got a little freer with money. So we started getting $50 for Christmas from Grandma. And $50, okay, if $20 was crazy, $50 was just insane. So we loved Christmas cards from Grandma. One year we were at Grandma's house for Christmas. So she gave us the cards then, in person, so she could see the looks on our faces. She gave us $50 that year, and I remember my brother went up to thank Grandma. He gave her a hug and said, "Thank you for the card, Grandma." And I looked around at everybody, all my aunts and uncles and my mom and dad, and I said, "Actually, he's thanking you for the money." And then I waited for the laughs. That did not come because I should have known that talking about money is extremely rude. So there was one example. Another example from my childhood. I was in grade 3, and I remember it was grade 3 because I was in Mr. Hare's class, as in the tortoise and the. And it was significant because I got into a lot of trouble that year. I don't know what it was about grade 3, but that was my problem year. I used to have to write lines all the time, like Bart at the beginning of The Simpsons. I will not talk so much in class. I will not throw snowballs at people. I will not writhe around on the floor and pretend I'm having a seizure. And I even got suspended that year. So it was a problem year, and needless to say, Mr. Hare and I were not great friends. We didn't get along really well. And what made it even better was that year, Mr. Hare was going to retire at the end of the year. And he was ready. Oh, he was very ready to retire. So, at the end of the year, someone, probably another teacher, gave us a big card to sign and write nice things about Mr. Hare. Wish him well. And I thought, well, okay. I knew I had been horrible all year long. And I thought, this is my chance. This is my chance to make Mr. Hare finally feel good, not resent me so much, and maybe we can at least end this on a good note. So I thought very carefully. And in the card, I wrote, "Happy retirement. Enjoy it while it lasts." Yeah. in university, I used to go back home for the summer to work, save up a little bit of money. And I lived in a small town in Canada, and I worked at a coffee shop, you know, the really popular one. I don't need to tell you Canadians which one, but it doesn't really matter. So I worked there for the summer, and this small town, it was the kind of town where at the local high school, it was not out of the ordinary to see a fellow student with a baby bump. That's the kind of high school I went to, and the kind of town I lived and worked in that summer. So one day, it was the beginning of my shift. It's a little windy here. I hope that's not too bad on the audio. But it was a little before my shift this day, and I showed up a few minutes early so I could have a cigarette, because I picked up some bad habits at university. And there was a girl behind the dumpster, because that's where we had to smoke, behind the dumpster, because it's unprofessional to let customers see how bored and annoyed you are at your situation, so that you pick up smoking. So we were smoking behind the dumpster, and this girl, I recognized her. I knew she was about my age, but I didn't know her really well. But she looked like she was having a really rough day. So I thought, oh, okay, you know, I'm gonna lighten the mood here. I'm gonna turn her rough day into a nicer one with a little bit of a joke. So I said to her, well, at least you don't have like 9 kids to take care of. And she looked at me and she said, nope, just one. So, if you also suffer from foot-in-mouth disease, just know that you're not alone. Okay. This has been A Moment with Steve.